Welcome to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. And now your host, Tim Johnson.
A lot to talk about with Cornerstone Chemical Chief Operating Officer Tom Yura when we return on this edition of the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
Louisiana businesses, by partnering with your local community and technical college foundation, you're guaranteed a skilled, highly competent workforce, homegrown talent, trained specifically to meet your needs, whatever those needs are. Visit this website to learn more about how to partner with your local Louisiana Community and Technical College Foundation. To better prepare for tomorrow, become a partner today.
At Optimal, we understand what's at stake during your projects. That's why we value integrity, trust, and expertise. We retain proven and experienced craftsmen, and with multiple locations, we can execute hundreds of customized project solutions across the country, so you stay ahead of schedule and under budget. At Optimal, you come first, plain and simple. We have your back, and we always deliver. Experience the Optimal difference.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
For 8 seconds in the arena before an afternoon in the field. For a promise to students that honors success in the classroom. For championships earned on the bayou. For innovators committed to reclaiming our coastline. The universities of Louisiana. For your future. For our future.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Tom Yura, Chief Operating Officer of Cornerstone Chemical, is our guest. Second time on the show, buddy. Welcome back.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Glad to be back.
We got lots to talk about, so let's dive into it. We always like to start, Tom, with sort of an overview of industry leaders. So tell us about your background, your education, and the path that has led you to the position you're in today.
Sure. So I'm a chemical engineer. I graduated and then started with BASF. Worked for them for almost 29 years before about a year and a half ago making the switch to Cornerstone Chemical as the Chief Operating Officer. Incredible career, right? Being able to interact with a lot of great people, being able to see the world, technology, and having a great hand in making our world a much better place to be in with the products that we produce. So where I'm at today, it's a wonderful opportunity. I'm an integrated part of the business, leading the business, as it would say, and poised for growth, which is always an exciting place to be.
Yeah, and we're going to get into a lot of that growth and opportunity, and you talked about the products and the value to society. I want to talk about all of that, but I always wonder when I'm talking to business leaders about what they do day to day and sort of their job. What's the most rewarding part of your job, Tom?
I think it's growth.
Yeah.
Right, it is. Whether it's the growth of an individual, watching somebody new come in a role that's not sure can they do this, and watching them grow, both professionally and personally, incredibly rewarding. Organization, right? Taking an organization that may be working okay, but really how do you get all of those pieces to really come together, right? Like a really good gumbo.
Exactly.
It takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of insight, but yeah, it also takes incredible people, right? And I've been very fortunate to be around a lot of talented people. And then of course, growing the business, right? I think, you or anybody else that's out there, never being satisfied with the status quo. How can I take this company, right? How can I take this organization and grow it, whether through its mergers, acquisition, organic growth? It's exciting, right? It's really exciting to be part of something special like that.
You have been an extremely engaged part of a couple of associations in Louisiana that play a critical role, I believe. The Louisiana Chemical Association, Greg Bowser and his great team. You served as chairman of that organization. The Greater Baton Rouge Industry Alliance, Connie Fabre and her great team. Talk about the importance of those organizations, Tom, to a business like yours, and why you believe it's important for you to be involved in leadership there.
Oh, absolutely. When you look at both the successes and challenges our industry faces, these two organizations have a lot to do with how do we get to that next level. For example, advocacy, right? We have lots of great stories to tell, and sometimes as individual companies, it's hard to talk about this story or this one in as large as the state. Right? So these organizations can really help amplify and magnify the stories of all the great things we do. The other key piece is advocating for legislation. As we know, we've got a lot of great representatives in the state, whether at the federal level, the state, or the local level, but they also have to have the facts and the information.
Absolutely.
So whether it's Greg and his organization, Connie and Gabria, to have dedicated people that can take the time to sit down with elected officials and answer questions, provide information and guidance on how this legislation could affect our industry as a whole so that you avoid unintended consequences, right? So the advocacy piece is absolutely huge. And then there's two specific issues that both organizations work hard on. Safety, right? How do you elevate each other up? So with creating forums, right, because we're all in the chem industry, how to provide forums that allow us to share best practices to keep our workers safe, contractors safe, and our community safe really has elevated all of us to improve our safety performance over time. And then, of course, whether it is workforce, right? Workforce, we're blessed with this great state to have so many people involved in the chemical industry, but we faced real challenges over the last decade. How many people are entering the workforce for the chem industry? How do you provide the training, whether it's industry-based credentials, whether it's outstanding four-year institutions that we have in our state? It's how do we connect the great people of our state and the population to the jobs we have? That's no small feat. And so it's taken us working at the high school level, the community technical college system, and the four-year college, but it takes a lot of time and effort. And whether it's LCA or Gabria, we have staff that can actually help us spend the time necessary to make movements.
You've demonstrated how critically important you believe those organizations are by your engagement and your involvement and your leadership there. And we know that those organizations will continue to do a great job. We've got about a minute and a half left in this first segment, so we'll start the overview of Cornerstone Chemical. Tell us about the place you are now, about we'll get into products later, but let's talk about employees, let's talk about size, let's talk about economic impact.
Sure. So Cornerstone Chemical, right? It started as American Cyanamid, 1953, in a town, Wagaman, Louisiana, right on the Mississippi River, close outside of New Orleans. Natural gas. Right, it's why we're all here, natural gas. And American Cyanamid, acrylonitrile, hydrocyanic acid, ammonia, methanol. This was the basis well over 60 years ago. It's evolved over a period of time as a lot of companies have broken into smaller pieces, focusing on their core technology. So if you fast forward now, well after 60 years, it's Cornerstone Chemical. Over around 500 people. That we have. We've now picked up our second location, so we're now expanding into Bell, West Virginia. Dedicated group of people, inspired, but again, the chemistry that we started with is still absolutely our core. The products we produced 60 years ago are still the products we're producing today because we've done it so well.
I want to get more into the products later and their value to life. I want to talk about the Cornerstone Energy Park. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll visit on those. We're visiting with Tom Yura of Cornerstone Chemical. You're watching the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging time.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
We're right there with you. Gulf Coast Bank is invested in technology with a local touch, a smart way to manage your money and your time. With our mobile banking app, you can make deposits, check balances, transfer money, pay bills, and more. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you. Member FDIC. Message and data rates may apply.
We are united in battle to defeat a microscopic enemy. Manufacturing chemicals that safeguard lives. Refining essential fuels. Delivering in a world of uncertainty. Our creative energy is the force helping to keep families, the community, and each other safe. Together, we are Shell, the rhythm of Louisiana.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Tom Yura, the Chief Operating Officer of Cornerstone Chemical, is our guest. Tom, you sort of gave us an overview of Cornerstone Chemical, about 500 people, a myriad of products that we'll get a little more detail on as we go along. But one of the things you guys have done there, because you've got some tenant companies on that site, you're creating what you've called the Cornerstone Energy Park. And you've got a tagline that says, from energy to innovation, and I really like that. Let's talk about that park and what you guys have created there.
Sure. So we have a very unique opportunity with over 800 acres, right, in Wagamin, Louisiana. And when you think about operating a integrated chem complex, right, you have all of these intricate manufacturing units working together. One makes a product, passes it to the next plant. The next plant produces a co-product or a waste stream that's then picked up and used by another plant. It's truly an integrated complex. And so for us, being a very fast entrepreneurial company, not bounded by a lot of the conventional, well, we don't want that, or we don't want that person or that company to come in, we look for very unique opportunities to extend that efficiency even further. So the reason we've established ourselves as an energy park is if there are other companies that would like to set up shop and consume one of the raw materials that we produce today, utilize and share some of the infrastructure that we have today, take a waste product that we have and turn that waste product from a waste into gold, we're a very unique setup to be able to do that. And it's an exciting opportunity to continue to get better and better, not only for us, but to provide extra value for people that may, or tenants that may want to locate on site.
Well, you said it. It's a more efficient use of resources. It's recycling of some waste streams and better utilization of co-products that are there. It creates jobs. It improves the economy. It's a smart thing to do, and I know you guys are focused on it pretty heavily. You and I have had this conversation a lot offline. I think oftentimes lost in the discussion of chemical plants, particularly as in the age of social media and all these other things that go on, is the life-sustaining and quality of life improving products that come out of these facilities. And Cornerstone Chemical is no different. In fact, you had some really specific applications relative to helping with the COVID-19 pandemic. So let's talk about the products, Tom, of Cornerstone Chemical and how they improve lives every day.
Oh, absolutely. And it starts with our tagline, from energy to innovation, right? If you think about how we've evolved as a society over the last years from a product standpoint, we're interested in energy conservation, right? chemical companies are very interested in energy conservation, right? It takes our limited resources and stretches it further. So you start with natural gas and end up with something like carbon fiber.
Right.
So when you think about airplanes, right? When you think about airplanes being able to fly from New York to Sydney, right, without stopping to refuel. If you think about the advanced technologies that will go into wind turbines that we see coming up and down the Mississippi River for sustainable energy, those wind turbines all have lightweight material in it. And so it's incredible that with the same molecules we started with 60 years ago, the technology today is creating nitrile that will go into personal protective equipment, whether it's gloves, medical devices, or even that we've seen today in distancing, when you're pulling up to your favorite restaurant to help keep them in shape, or whether you're going to governmental offices or whether even workplaces, you see plexiglass barriers. Well, one of the products, the co-product that we make, hydrocyanic acid, goes directly into the manufacturing of the plexiglass, keeping people safe in our very changing environment. So the innovation that we have is tremendous. As industry, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about this stuff just doesn't magically happen. Right? And it does make a difference to people in their lives.
Even things, Tom, like if you go to the Aquarium of the Americas in New Orleans and
the tunnel,
absolutely, that's product that comes from Cornerstone Chemical. That it's just amazing how often this industry touches our lives, and we may not think about it as often as we should. But without it, we would find out that many of these products that improve our quality of life would not exist. I like to talk about culture, because the culture of any organization, be it a chemical plant or a sports team or anything else, is critically important. You focus on that a lot in your leadership. A culture of safety, you've mentioned it, a culture of environmental protection, a culture of being a good place to come to work, making sure that your employees go home every day in at least as good a condition as they showed up for work. Talk about culture, Tom, and leadership, and how critically important it is for you as a leader and for an organization like Cornerstone.
I mean, culture eats strategy for lunch, right?
I love
that. And it may sound cliche, but it's true. You can have the best plan, but if you don't have the right culture and the right enablement for people to execute on that strategy, it won't happen. So we've tried to narrow it down to three very simple points: safety, reliability, and growth.
Right.
If you focus first and foremost on safety, right, and you're not hurting people, you're not hurting folks that come in onto the site, that's just the basic ticket to entry, and you have to be committed to doing that, not just in lip service, but in every actions that you have. Reliability, right? You have to have reliable manufacturing installations to enable you to produce all those products you need for your customers, as well as to go ahead and keep it in the pipe. Right? And then the third one is growth, right? You have to earn your right to grow. You have to earn your right to growth by being safe and by being reliable. So it's finding like-minded individuals, right, that really adhere to those three principles and think about that every single day. And then, of course, as leadership, you have to do what you say. And that's tough, because you will always be challenged. Right? This versus that, this priority, and then especially in challenging times, right? There's unpopular decisions that sometimes have to be made, Tim, but you have to do that for the sake of continuing your operation, continue to move down, and to set up for those next victories that you're going to get.
I want to talk about growth when we come back from this break. We're visiting with Tom Yura. He's the Chief Operating Officer of Cornerstone Chemical. You're watching the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
Your 5-star accredited Jefferson Chamber, here for business and open for business.
At Cornerstone, we turn energy into innovation and help make products like acrylic safety shields that are keeping frontline community workers safe. We live here, we invest here, and our employees innovate here for a safer future.
The Jefferson Chamber, open for your business. Come join us.
Spadel's Florist was founded over 30 years ago. From my mom's kitchen, we have grown into one of the largest florists in this area. There's a sense in our community that you stick together, good times or bad, and oil and gas is part of that family. They're my neighbors. They're my customers. They're the person I'm sitting next to at church. If oil and gas is doing well, all of our businesses are doing well. We are Louisiana Oil and Gas.
For more than 25 years, the TJC Group has been helping industry communicate and build relationships with communities, elected officials, and governmental agencies. We are the leading firm in the U.S. for the development, management, and facilitation of industry-based community advisory panels.
Whether you're building a new facility or you manage an existing business, let us put our community and governmental relations experience to work for you.
The TJC Group, facilitating solutions for business and industry.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Really good conversation with Tom Yura. He's Chief Operating Officer of Cornerstone Chemical. Tom, you mentioned growth and you mentioned the need to grow, and we're going to talk a lot about that in this segment, but you guys have just gone through what was a learning experience, a difficult process. You announced some upgrades to your acrylonitrile facility that would require the creation of a new HCN plant. You went through the original permit process so because of social media and some activism, required the Jefferson Parish Council went in and pulled that permit from you. And so talk about that process a little bit. And then I want to really spend time talking about the importance of growth. But let's talk about this process that you've just gone through.
Sure. So as you mentioned, we received, so Jefferson Parish is special in that it has something called a special permitted use application. And it helps them understand what are the chemicals you're processing, storage, and handling. And this was approved for us in January of 2018. And so what happened is during election year politics, there were a few people that made brought some concerning comments about the facility. And so well over a year after having this permit, going through all the engineering, the design, and ready to embrace on the construction of it, the Parish Council pulled it and revoked it, which
was an extraordinary move.
Which is an extraordinary move, especially when we didn't have much time at all to even go into the discussions and really understand what the issues were. So we've spent the last year working directly with the new Parish Council and specifically with our local residents, right? People that expressed some concerns or some questions. And so we spent a lot of time listening. Right? A lot of time listening, a lot of time asking, and that time was well worth it. We spent time educating the new parish council that was coming in, and I'm so thankful that these men and women serving in Jefferson Parish now had the ability to come in, talk to us, learn about what we do, learn about all the regulations that we're under, learn about the agencies that come in, but also more importantly, learn about the products that we produce, and learn more about how we do our business. And so we've been successful, right, working with the parish council now. We've got our permit reinstated to allow us to modernize our facility. But there were a couple of obviously key learnings. Number one is just because you've been doing something for 60 years doesn't mean you need to stop engaging with the community. That's right. You have to continue working and talking with people about those issues and listening. The second one is if you do have the time, right, and you are afforded time with government officials to educate, you can reach compromise solutions that meet both concerns of citizenry, concerns of government, but allow us as a business to continue to do what we've been doing.
You know, you mentioned this whole idea of communicating with your neighbors, and I think that that's one of the things that marks this last year, this process that you've gone through. Sean Ward, your environmental manager, Jolena Broussard, your public affairs manager, Tony Padilla, your site manager, just have done a really nice job of engaging the community, helping them to understand where you are, why this was critically important to you, helping the community, helping the elected officials understand this in a better way. And so your entire team is to be congratulated. But that leads us to, I think, a point that is broader for the chemical industry. And that's this whole idea that the industry must continuously upgrade its facilities. It must continuously add new facilities. It's almost you grow and you update and you change or you die. And I think that's another point that's often lost on the general public. Talk about how important it is for a facility like yours to constantly be innovating, constantly be looking for new products and new facilities to produce them in.
Sure. So, when you talk about facilities, chemical manufacturing facilities, these facilities have a life. They really do. Whether it's technology that becomes out of date or just the equipment itself, like a house, right? You have to replace a roof, you have to replace an air conditioning, and a chemical plant's no different, right? You have to reinvest over time, otherwise you can't keep your tenets of safe and reliable operation. So it's absolutely essential. At the same time, we learn how to get more efficient with our raw materials and our energy. Right? And that means also modernizing and updating your facility. So if you're not doing this, eventually you will not be able to compete in the marketplace because your cost position will not allow you to do that. Your safety, environmental performance will not allow you to do that. So you have to reinvest. And every homeowner and every person that drives a car knows that even if you have that beautiful 68 Camaro, right? You've got to get parts, you've got to invest in it, and even with the latest cars, I mean, think about, Tim, the technology from the side airbags, the back airbags, the side collision, all of these alarms. Wouldn't we all want that in our manufacturing installations? And the only way to do that is to reinvest. Otherwise you're going to close. And we've seen slews of closure globally because of decades of underinvestment, and that's not going to be
those 500 careers and the families that depend on them can eventually go away. We got about 30 seconds left here. What's on the horizon for Cornerstone Chemical?
For me, it's growth. It's got to be growth, Tim. As we said, whether it's modernization, whether it's finding that great new employee that's going to make a huge impact and a huge difference, if it's looking for new tenants, right, that would certainly like to come and be part of our Cornerstone Energy Park. And I know there's a few mergers and an acquisition. So that's why I'm here. I'm here to grow, whether it's individuals, organizations in the business. So I look forward to coming back and talking to you about that again.
Well, keep making the case to your community. Keep making the case to the Jefferson Parish Council. I know how much you appreciate those men and women and the work they did over the last year. And we'll keep an eye on it, buddy, and I appreciate you being here today.
Thanks, Tim. I appreciate it.
That's a wrap, guys. Thanks for joining us. Join us again next week at this very same time for another edition of the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.